And I tell them this is all the proof you need that the issue is not the issue. That it's not the sound. It's that you associate the sound to someone or something that has caused you to feel this way. Because if it doesn't bother you, the sound of your own chewing, I'm here to tell you, it is fast and easy to change with hypnosis. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the G-Spot. I'm Gila Zak, certified hypnotherapist, and this is the place where we talk about all things hypnotic, unconscious human behavior, and just curious topics in general that I can share with you the hypnotic twist that you might not have known about before. Today we're going to talk about misophonia, and this is a technical, kind of fancy way to describe people who get really angry, annoyed, frustrated, or anxious when it comes to sounds. Now, we have sounds around us all the time, don't we? You know, we're taking in so many billion bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind is so clever. It knows how to create an internal hierarchy of which sounds to pay attention to and which ones to ignore. Now, people who have misophonia, they have created, let's just say, a misplaced sense of anger, anxiety, frustration with a sound. So what does this mean? Well, the most common one I hear is people say, the sound of someone chewing just sends me. And maybe you have this issue, maybe you know someone, maybe you've heard about it. And I say to them, well, that's really interesting that you would get so angry or anxious at the sound of someone chewing. And they say, yeah, I can't stand it. I'm like, okay. And I ask them to close their eyes for a moment and then imagine themselves chewing. Now, if I have a client that comes to see me and I know that they're bringing this issue to the table, I will invite them to bring something that they like to eat that's a little crunchy. When I say to them, you know, it's not the sound that bothers you, and I'm going to prove this to you. They usually look at me and they're like, really? What are you talking about? And I say, you know what? Put that little chip, put that cracker in your mouth and chew it. And they do. And then I ask them to close their eyes. And then I ask them, what are you noticing? Nothing. You're not noticing anything about the sound of yourself chewing? No, I just hear myself chewing. And I tell them this is all the proof you need that the issue is not the issue. That it's not the sound. It's that you associate the sound to someone or something that has caused you to feel this way. Because if it doesn't bother you, the sound of your own chewing, I'm here to tell you, it is fast and easy to change with hypnosis. So we're going to talk about the origins of this. And it's been my experience over many years of dealing with many clients with this issue, is that it usually starts in childhood. And it's usually a family member, oftentimes parents or siblings, where the child is in an experience. And within that experience, someone is smacking their food, they're chewing loudly, or some other sound is happening. Sometimes it's slurping of liquid like a soup. And the child is feeling angry, afraid, anxious, judged, criticized, whatever it might be. And while they are feeling this, they are seeing that person engage in the behavior, they are hearing that person engage in the behavior, and then the person themselves is feeling it. And this creates in the unconscious mind an association that is learned, because the theory is that we're only born with two hardwired associations. And one is the fear of loud noises and the other is the fear of falling. And these are designed to protect us. They're survival instincts. All other associations are learned. So we learn to be annoyed, frustrated, anxious at the sound of someone making those sounds as a protection, as a touch point, as a point of reference for going forward. Now, when we talk about what hypnosis is, you can go look at one of my other videos for that, and I sure hope you do. We touched upon what hypnosis is, and it's all about using our imagination and association to create a touch point, a point of reference going forward. Now, this happens naturally because the subconscious mind is of a predictive nature. It's trying to predict what's going to happen tomorrow based on what we're experiencing today. So if we're at the dinner table and we're feeling anxious, annoyed, afraid, pissed off about this person doing this, we're angry and frustrated with them, we don't like them, we think they're a total jerk, they're a bully, then what's going to happen is you now have an association to predict that next time I hear that sound, I'm going to feel this way. And it's not happening at the conscious level. I've had people come to me and say, you know, I'm having a great time at this social engagement, I'm having a ball, and next thing you know, someone comes in and they're chewing gum next to me and it sends me into a rage. And I say, well, the sound of someone chewing gum in and of itself does not cause rage. You have to have learned that somewhere. And hypnosis is a really incredible and very effective way to go into the place, the source of where you learn to feel and be that way, and reframe it. So what does this look like? Well, we use imagination, we use movie of the mind, we use lots of different techniques to go in and say, let's replay that experience, but let's take the frustration and the irritation out of it and let's put something else in its place, even if it's just feeling neutral. Say hello to my little friend. Now, I like to use props in my practice, and a lot of therapists do. And this is my friend, the thought ball. Now, I'm going to prove to you that you have way more control over what you think and feel than you've ever experienced before. So, thoughts are things. They are just like this ball. You can pick it up, put it down, and sometimes those thoughts come in real slowly, and we just reach for them and grab them, and then we ruminate or perseverate. Sometimes the thoughts just pop up. They're just there, and then we've got them, and we do the same thing. Other times, people will throw a thought at us unconsciously based on what they're thinking, saying, or just by being in our presence. And so when we think about the thought of getting really angry or anxious about someone chewing or snoring or slurping their food, whatever it is, we know now that the sound itself doesn't cause the emotion or feeling. We've come to associate the two. So this is the thought of somebody making a noise you don't like. The thought in and of itself should be neutral, but right now inside there is irritation, frustration, anger, whatever it might be. For some it's fear, okay? So if that's the case, what I'm going to invite you to do is play along with me and just imagine, pretend that you could pull all of the associative emotions and feelings out of the thought. Because we have the thought and then the emotions or the feelings come through. Or maybe we have the emotions and feelings come up first and then the thought presents itself. But it doesn't really matter, does it? Because if you could pretend, imagine, allow yourself to just pull all of the associated emotions and feelings out of the thought, you're going to end up with it just being empty. There it is. There is the thought of someone chewing, snoring, slurping their soup. It's neutral. Now, this is the place of self-empowerment. This is where you get to choose how you want to think and feel. And I'm here to tell you that you and you alone are the spiritual authority of your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, and that no one, no person, no memory, no sound should have that level of control over your well-being, your peace of mind. So here's where you get to ask yourself, how do you want to think about that? And maybe you just choose to focus on the company that you're with, that you enjoy. Maybe you choose to just feel a sense of affection and maybe admiration or maybe gratitude for the experience that you're having. And the interesting thing is that it's a law of the mind that you can only consciously think of 7 plus or minus 2 things at any given time. So what if you put neutral or positive feelings inside the thought, even if you just want to make it neutral? I tell people you don't have to love it, but just make it fucking unimportant. And then something magical happens. Now you have the thought of somebody chewing, making that sound, whatever it is, but that sound becomes like any other sound in the background. It moves to the edges of the periphery of your awareness, and you're only focusing on those 7 plus or minus 2 things that are the most important to you. So you don't really need your own thought ball. You can do this with anything. You can do it with empty hand if you want. You can close your eyes and just do it as a process that's internal. It doesn't really matter. But I encourage you to practice, because once you become the master of what you think, you become the master of what you feel. And this is what hypnosis can teach you quite quickly and quite effectively. Trust me. So finally, what I would like to suggest to you is ask yourself, who would you be without that association? Who would you be without that feeling? Who would you be if you could think differently? Because the issue is rarely the issue. This is like the tagline for hypnotists. People come in and they say, I've got this problem or that problem, and it's been my experience that the issue is often not the issue. That the association that one has cultivated around a sound is really just an echo of something that happened long ago that has an imprint of something that caused us to feel unsafe, anxious, afraid, judged, or criticized. And so when you are in the present day experience with people that you love, How can we change this? Now, here is another real life example. I oftentimes have people that say to me, I'm sleeping next to my partner and my partner snores. Is there anything that you can do with hypnosis to get them to stop snoring? And the truth is, there's many reasons why people would snore that are physiological and neurological. But what if I could help you not give a shit about that snoring? Wouldn't that be a wonderful way to go? So when we come in and work with this therapeutically, I ask the person to tell me, what is it that you love about your partner? What is it that you find endearing about them? What is it that you find they bring to you in the relationship? Now, quite honestly, if there's nothing, I got nothing for you. But if you're in a relationship with somebody and really the only thing that pisses you off is their snoring, then you can change that. With hypnosis, we can take you into that place inside of you where you can reframe what the sound means to you. And what I will do for people is I say, what would it be like that every time you heard that sound, it actually helped put you to sleep? What if that sound reminded you of how much they love you, support you, care for you, how much they're there for you? And so we start to tie in different associations to the sound of snoring, so that that sound now becomes something that we don't mind having around. And it actually could become a soothing mechanism. Maybe we tie our breathing, our own breathing, to the sound of their breathing. And, to be clear, some sounds are easier to tune out than others, but it's all about how you feel about the sound. Here's an example of an environmental sound that someone could change their perception around. We live in a coastal area and there's a foghorn that you can hear pretty much from anywhere if you tune into it, but most people don't notice it. And I had a client once who was telling me, Gila, I can't sleep because of that fucking foghorn. I said, really? Well, that's interesting. Let's play with it. And we ended up turning that foghorn a symbol of safety, a symbol of stability, a symbol of a safe harbor. So that when this woman heard the foghorn, she began to associate the sound with something that could help her to feel safe in her own bed and fall asleep. Another way that you could associate sounds is just by playing with it. Give it a color, a quality, a texture that you associate with being annoying or frustrating. So let's just say the sound of someone doing XYZ, it just feels like a bristling little fireball. Okay, is it spinning? Yeah, it's kind of spinning clockwise. All right. Well, what if you could slow it down? Just breathe and slow that associative feeling down. And what if you could reverse it? And what if you could change the color? And what if you could put this very different association into that sound? What would this be like? So there's lots of ways that we could play with this at hypnosis. And that's one of the things I love about what we hypnotists do. There is an endless array of ways that we can help you to get from here to there so that those sounds just don't bother you. If you've been struggling with this, there is help for you. Reach out and find yourself a hypnotist because this is a relatively simple thing to deal with. And if you have found this content helpful, please like and share, put it in the comments down below. And as always, I'm always open to new topics that you and I could explore together here on the G-Spot. Until next time.